number 23 for number 23.
Yeah.
There's been so much talk, Ramona, Brian, about the Lakers the last couple of days for a variety of different reasons. But it feels like the dominant headline has been, is LeBron James going to stay in Los Angeles? That's not something that I thought we were going to be talking about a couple of weeks ago. And it's sort of maybe distracted from a bigger question that I've had. We're talking about a guy who's going to be 41 in December. How much longer is this ride, Ramona, going to last?
Look, you hear this from people around the league that he wants to play 2-3 more years, but until he says it, until he's the one who says, I don't want to put my body through what I have to put my body through to be as good as I am. This man was a top 15 player in the league last year. He was still, and I had no qualms voting for him on my All-NBA team last year. He's still that good. So I know he's 41, but I don't think it's his last year. But the fact that the Lakers did not discuss a 1-1 or a 2-1 or contracts beyond this year with him, they just let him sit back and pick up his option or decline his option. That tells you a lot. That means that it's not in his control with the Los Angeles Lakers. That was a statement, even though they didn't make a statement.
For the first time in 23 years, he's not the franchise player. From the day he walked into the NBA, he's been the franchise player. Even in Miami, when Dwayne Wade was the incumbent star, you can ask UD, LeBron was the franchise player. So this is a transition for him. It doesn't mean that he won't have a spectacular season, and it doesn't mean that he has any lower standards. He has the opportunity to play a great season alongside Luka Doncic, and the Lakers have an opportunity to try to surround them with talent. And that is what he is doing. From what I am told, LeBron is not stressed at all right now. He is simply watching and seeing what the Lakers are doing. And that is what he will continue to do as he goes through the summer. The Lakers are the ones who have got to figure out how to make Luka Doncic feel comfortable about their future, which is what they've got to sell to him in 1 month from tomorrow. And so while there's a lot of focus on LeBron, I don't think the Lakers are thinking that much about him. I think they're thinking about how do we get a center, how do we get some perimeter defense, and what are we going to say to Luka when we go meet with him and offer him a contract extension?
Well, particularly because the team just down the road was able to go out and get a center that the Los Angeles Lakers had their eye on here. So let's go from the Lakers to the Clippers. They shared the same arena for 25 years, all until the Clippers opened up Intuit Dome this season. It's just a 6-mile trip on the 110, a little under 5 miles to the 105, and that's where we have Bobby Marks. Bobby, what have the Clippers done to bolster their roster so far this offseason?
Well, they brought James Harden back to start. 2 years, $81 million. The second year is partially guaranteed here. Here are two big decisions that they brought back. Nick Batum on a 2-year contract, Brook Lopez on a 2-year, $18 million contract. Batum, Lopez, and Harden, they all have something in common. What they have in common is that their contract is not guaranteed for next year. The Clippers are maximizing potential max cap space in the summer of 2026. Here's some questions for them. The continuity factor, 12 players return. It's okay to bring back your same roster. They did add Brook Lopez, as we talked about. What about Norman? Norman Powell is extension eligible, 4 for $128. We'll certainly keep an eye on that. And as I mentioned, that flexibility part could have a max spot. They're not the only team, though, Malika. This summer, we had Brooklyn as the only team that has cap space. We're projecting nearly half of the NBA next summer could have significant cap space.
Ooh. Do you think that the Los Angeles Lakers or the Clippers looked like a better team in the postseason last year? Are they the better team heading into this next season?
I like the Clippers better. And look, Luka Doncic could flip this entire script, depending on how he looks at the start of the year and the chemistry with LeBron James. But right now, they don't have that chemistry. Clippers do. They're basically running it back. You had Norman Powell had a career year. James Harden had an all-league season. Zubac, to me, might be the most underrated player in the NBA. And now you go out and you have Brook Lopez as another backline anchor defensively and somebody that is going to be deadly in the 1-5 pick-and-pop game with James Harden. So Brook Lopez can still do that. I like the Clippers better. I just think the way they're positioned, the way they know each other, and coming off a year with 50 wins and running it back with everybody really understanding their role and adding depth, I like the Clippers better as we go into the season.
We were talking about Philadelphia earlier in the show and trying to maximize Joel Embiid. The Clippers have figured out, knocking on some wood here, how to be able to get the best out of Kawhi Leonard. We had questions about Kawhi in previous years. Those questions don't exist anymore. How are they feeling about what they've built this offseason?
I thought there was a good little interesting nugget Lawrence Frank gave the other night after the draft. He said Kawhi Leonard had trained all the way through the end of the NBA Finals to get his body reacclimated to playing that deep in the playoffs. And this is going to be the first offseason in a long time where he can just focus on improving his game and working out, not rehabbing. That is very important to me. I think last year we saw in the playoffs, he looked very good in the beginning. He couldn't, it's going to be hard for him to maintain that level coming off the injury he was. But now looking forward, they feel that he can continue training the way he was before. And I like the pieces they put around him. They arguably have perhaps maybe one of the best front lines in the league. Remember, this is a team that took Denver to 7 games. Now you add Brook Lopez to the mix, who, by the way, texted me. I said, are you going to go to Disneyland a lot? And he said, that has to be the plan. I think I'll live in Adventureland treehouse.
Oh, the Adventureland treehouse.
Yes.
I hear the mortgage rates in the Adventureland treehouse are pretty high, actually. UD, though, making all of these moves. The Clippers, we talk about the West as being, Oklahoma City, obviously, is leading the pack. You talk about Houston. We've been really intrigued by Denver. I don't think we can forget about the Clippers here.
No, you cannot forget about the Clippers, and not just the players that they have, because they have everything that you need to contend. You have centers, you have wing defenders, you have scorers, you have Norman Powell, you have, James Harden, who's a hell of a playmaker, can also still score the ball for you. You have a healthy Kawhi Leonard, hopefully. But I look at that coaching staff, and I look at Lawrence Frank, and I look at Van Gundy.
Second year for Van Gundy.
Yeah, and I look at Ty Lue. I look at that coaching staff. So I look at that team as, if not the close, but one of the most complete teams right now. And that's where they have the edge over the Lakers, because the Lakers still have a lot of work to do. This team is pretty much complete and ready to roll, and we just getting started in free agency.
Malika, can I add one more thing? Look, the Clippers still have their $5 million mid-level exception. Obviously, they want to maintain.
I take it.
They want to maintain their flexibility for this big summer coming up, because they feel Intuit Dome, Steve Ballmer, they can sell themselves to future stars. But if Bradley Beal were to be bought out of his contract, perhaps the Clippers would be a player in that. That's something some people have mentioned to me, because the Clippers have always been advantageous about getting stars on the cheap when there's a situation like that where they bought out. Look, in the past, they've gotten point guards like John Wall, Rajon Rondo,
Thank you. We
Russell
appreciate
Westbrook.
That.
They could be very advantageous if something like that, unforeseen, were to happen, like if Bradley Beal were to be bought out.
I always like getting my stars on the cheap. James Harden had the best year he's had in 5 years, made the All-NBA team for the first time since 2000. Norm Powell, the best year of his career. Zubac had the best year of his career. Kawhi Leonard looked like an All-NBA player when he came back in the spring. Look at this team. This team's record, whatever it was, I don't know what it was, they were a lot better. They were allegedly a 5 seed. They weren't a 5 seed. They ended up having to play the Nuggets.
OKC agrees with you.
They had to play the Nuggets in the first round, and they ended up, having to not be able to get past them. If they had a different matchup, who knows? Yes. This is a team that is much better than its record says. It's much better than its expectation.
Yeah.
And, the thing about them is they're just laying back. They don't have to worry about any expectations. Nobody's paying attention to them. They are right there. This is one of the reasons why the West is so vicious.
Yep.
You could make a case for 4 or 5 different teams winning the whole thing.
I wanna try to boast at what I look like.